Good morning, Bulldogs. It is Thursday. It is May 28th. I'm sitting out here in the rain in hopes that it will force me to make a shorter video for you because I know you don't like long ones. And also, I am not playing music because as much as I love playing music every day for you guys, I know that I listened back to the video and I was like, oh, that just sounds horrible. The sound quality was not good. There's still another format I want to try. And if that format, if I have the time to put that together, maybe we'll do that again. So here's today's top stories from the New York Times. If you notice, it's not a direct relation to the coronavirus. So that's big news in its own way. And it's about China and about Hong Kong. So as I believe we were discussing earlier in the year, there's been pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. And I think it was last Friday, China's Congress met and said, no, we're going to be stricter on Hong Kong. And this is sort of the result of what they're trying to do. So it says China officially expands power to rein in Hong Kong despite outcry. So concerningly, it reads that a new law is written to suppress subversion, secession, terrorism, and other acts that might threaten national security in Hong Kong. So when we look at our country and the right to assemble and all those things, we see why it is such an important right for us to have. The US, also being concerned with our relations with China, is going to expel graduate students who are Chinese who have connections to China's military schools. Are they spies? Right? And many universities are saying whoa, you're a little paranoid, you're going a little too far. These are really good students and we're going to really miss out if you take them away. So something to look to. Also, today is Thursday. We know Thursday is unemployment numbers day. Those numbers come out at 8:30. So I put this together before then, early this morning, but I believe just a few minutes ago, it came out that this week's unemployment figures were 2.1 million. Those numbers have gone down when they were, in the 3 millions and 4 millions, and I think 6 million in 1 week. But it's still much higher than normal. And our total unemployment claims are over 40 million, right? That's disconcerting. That's not good numbers. Now, if we scroll down in the New York Times, we see a top domestic story. And many of you guys probably have been following this the past 2 days. If you saw my video of yesterday, it talks about the death of Mr. George Floyd by Minneapolis police officers. They were fired. People are now looking that they want them to be charged with murder and face criminal charges, that them getting fired is not enough. And there were protests that started 2 days ago. And yesterday, the protests became more severe with, burning of buildings and whatnot. The mayor of Minneapolis is sympathetic with many of the protesters, and he thinks that those police officers should be arrested as well. So this is a sad story. It is symbolic of when you take years of racism in our country, one that has become heightened as of late, combine it with the tensions from the pandemic, from the loss of life and economic troubles, and it's sort of like a situation where things are ready to boil over. Apparently, the National Guard has been asked to come in. This is something we need to stay tuned to see, do these officers get charged? Do other leaders come in? How do the protests continue or change? So keep an eye on this. The BBC News, their top story is also about China and what's going on there. Then there's some other stories about the United States, how the pandemic here compares to the rest of the world, and things like that. One thing that was on the news yesterday was the SpaceX launch. It was to be the first launch of astronauts in American soil since the last shuttle mission in 2011. It is also supposed to be the first launch of a private company, SpaceX, in collaboration with NASA. I apologize if these cars are loud, but my house is just as loud. We have very limited options in these lockdown, guys. I feel for you who have trouble working with your crowded and loud situations as well. But anyway, that launch was scrubbed with about 17 minutes to go yesterday due to weather. It is supposed to go off on Saturday afternoon. I encourage you guys to watch it. If you watch it, I may have that count instead of another assignment that we have due coming up. I do want you to continue to add to your timelines. Here's an event for today. I will put up how you're going to put together your final timelines. My goal is to have that up for today. It's not going to be due next class, of course. It's going to be part of an overall project grade. But in case you guys want to start working on it over the weekend, it should be very easy to do as long as you've been doing this all year and throughout virtual instruction. So today in history in 1918, you have independence of two nations, Azerbaijan Democratic Republic and the First Republic of Armenia. This relates to both our imperialism units and our World War units. Because of imperialism, right? They now want their independence. They want their sovereignty. They don't want to be controlled by a larger empire, namely the Russian Empire, and in some connections, the Ottoman Empire. They got their independence finally at the Paris Peace Conference. Our President Wilson was there. And he actually was sort of, even though he wanted countries to be able to fight for their independence or to have their independence, he was afraid of too many small little countries throughout the world, of things being broken up too small. He saw that as potential as possibly future wars. But nevertheless, they both did get their independence. We'll be talking more about Armenia in our World Wars units when we talk about the Armenian genocide, along with the Holocaust. So one of the Armenian genocide was of the World War I timeline. Now, listen, today's assignment, you have options. You have two options. It is about literature of the age of imperialism. You have the option of reading Shooting an Elephant or White Man's Burden and doing work on it. Each assignment has two parts. I made a video yesterday. It was like 20 minutes long. There's no need for me to explain exactly how to do it here. So if you go to yesterday's video for the May 27th, right on our channel, just fast forward to the last few minutes. You can always stop and put on events for timelines if you haven't been. But fast forward the last 2 minutes, please watch that. If you just read the directions on the doc, that may be sufficient. But some people have had a few misunderstandings, so I want to make sure you do it correctly. You can always shoot me an email if you have any other questions. And I look forward to meeting you guys next week, or where we're going to do a quick version of the World Wars unit. So be prepared for that. It's starting to rain a little bit harder, but let me get inside. I miss you guys. I'm proud of the work you're doing. Thank you so much who took the time to share very meaningful stories for the Memorial Day assignment, and many suggestions of what we can do next year, which I'm really hoping to help put into action with your support. All right, stay safe, guys. Be well.